Aquarius, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your January 2025 Astro Update. It's Rena here. You guys will not know how many times I have started this reading over again. What is it with Aquarius? Well, one of the big things that has happened recently, this was in November actually. I'm recording this in the second week of December, so I am going to speak of any transits that are occurring in the future for me at this juncture from December 10th as being in the future. I'm not going to pretend that they're not occurring because a lot of you might be listening before they've occurred as well. So it gives a kind of a little bit of a review of December. But in November 19th to be exact, Pluto went back into your sign and will stay there until 2044, 20 more years. So at this point, this is a very powerful period for Aquarians. And when the sun goes into your sign in January, that's going to form a conjunction with Pluto. And that to me symbolizes your personal power. But I'll talk about that in a second. I want to do this chronologically. On the 2nd of the month, Venus goes into Pisces, where it will join Saturn and Neptune, which have been there for years. And this is your second house of earned income. And Venus here is great because Venus is the ruler of the second house in astrology. And that means that it has an affinity with this house. It's associated with making money or I'd even say attracting money. And so you might find that for however long it's there, and it's certainly going to be in this month, Venus will be slowing down because Venus is going to go retrograde on March 1st. So anyway, this might be a time when you feel the urge to buy a high-ticket item. Venus, I was going to say Aquarians, I have believed, and I don't think I'm wrong about this, that Aquarius is not a very free-spending sign. Your two rulers are Saturn, which is also the ruler of Capricorn. Definitely, I would call Capricorn a tightwad. And I say that affectionately. I don't say that in a disparaging way. And then you have Uranus, which is very unpredictable, and it might sometimes make you kind of act out of character. And you're like, what just got into me to make me do that? And maybe those are the times when you're more likely to spend money. But anyway, this could be a time when you feel more comfortable. Perhaps you're experiencing more money for some reason, like you get a raise or bonus or what have you. And so you might be buying something that is not necessarily a necessity, but more of a luxury. This can also be very good for your self-esteem, where you value yourself. The second house is not just your net worth, but your self-worth. On the 3rd, Mercury comes out of its shadow, and this is the house that you rule in astrology, that this is happening. The 11th house, Mercury has been retrograding in Sagittarius. It goes direct on December 15th and then comes out of its shadow on January 3rd. What does that mean coming out of its shadow? It's coming back to the point where it was, degree-wise, when it retrograded. And the reason that this is significant is that until that point, it's not quite at its full strength. Shadow, there's pre-shadow and post-shadow periods. So you should, this being the 11th house, that's very interesting because the 11th house is the house of gains. And there might be something here, and gains means your profits, your earnings, and something might have been thrown out of whack for some reason. There was a miscalculation, miscommunication, and now things might be getting more on track, and maybe that will stabilize your earnings more. Venus in the second house doesn't hurt financially, that's for sure. Also, if you've had any kind of misunderstanding with friends, maybe you, or just even lost in translation, miscommunication, can't get a hold of people, this might be the time that you're able to do so. On the 6th, Mars retrogrades back into Cancer. So you have Mars in this opposite house of your relationship. And then it goes, and it also could be legal affairs, and then it goes back into Cancer and could be dealing with work matters. And these two areas could be related. In other words, maybe there is some kind of mediation that you had to engage in based on some conflict in the workplace. And, rather than a full-on lawsuit or anything like that, you just wanted somebody that was not part of the actual fight itself to be impartial and decide this. And maybe it does have to do with money. That is possible. Now that Mercury is out of its shadow in the 11th house, there might have been some, I don't know if the 11th house could really be connected to when Mercury is there, negotiations about your, like about a raise or anything like that. But I could kind of take that leap and say that could be a possibility. And maybe there's even back pay that is on the table that is involved in all of this. And just keep in mind, for all of us, especially when Mars is in Cancer, and I witnessed this the first time. Maybe I was listening to another astrologer talking about it, and that kind of made me vigilant to look for it around me when Mars was in Cancer. Mars in Cancer itself is very hypersensitive and, quick to take offense. And, because Cancer is a cardinal sign, it can be tricky because when people, Mars can be anger. When people feel motivated to express anger, sometimes, in worst case scenarios, they might do it physically. So we don't want, when Mars is in Cancer, we don't want any kind of altercations. Obviously, of course, we don't ever want those. But the thing is to tune into the sensitivity that Cancer, and I would say psychological insight, being that Cancer is a water sign, and being able to get in touch with emotions behind anger, even if it's not your anger, if it's somebody else's, so that you don't react and you can diffuse any reaction on somebody else's part. But this is retrograde, so it can be, to me, it feels to me like squashed anger. It feels like anger that you feel like you do not have the ability to express for some reason. So if it's in the workplace and maybe you've gone through some kind of like I said, it could be mediation or something where you're trying to tell your story. I forgot what they call that. Give your side of the story to someone in human resources, somebody who's acting in that capacity as a mediator. It doesn't mean that you necessarily will get your way. And so in those cases, Mars retrograde here might be that some of the same issues can crop up, but you have to keep it to yourself. And as long as you're aware that you're keeping something to yourself and there's a method to that madness, I don't think there's a problem with it, because sometimes we do have to swallow these aggressions because we know that we're not going to be there much longer. We're just kind of like trying to get to a certain place where we can, maybe you're actively looking for another job or whatever, and you're just like, okay, I tried, but this is not going to happen. Or maybe there's a truce even, but it could be a bit of an uneasy truce in some cases. Oh well. Just keep in mind that everyone is a little bit tender, a little bit sensitive, and, try to mitigate it yourself in your own way. On the 8th, Mercury goes into Capricorn, and this is your 12th house. So for Aquarius people, Mercury in the 12th can make you much more, well, you already have like probably intuitive gifts, a lot of you, but this can make it even more so. However, it's going to come at the expense of your logical mind, which you may pride yourself on and say, yes, I am very intelligent, I'm very able to understand complex things, and this may be a time when you're kind of in a very different, landscape. And then this is like a galactic landscape. This is like far out, man, like from another lifetime type of thing. So just keep that in mind. On the 13th, we have a full moon at 24 degrees of Cancer, falling in that area of the 6th house. So yeah, I mean, some of you, this may actually be a time when you decide to pack up your bags and leave. And just make sure, because Mars is here, and Mars will be aspecting this, will be conjuncting this, that you're not doing it in a way that is just very rash. Mars can indicate rashness. And also because it is in Cancer and the moon is in conjunction, it's emotional. You might be feeling like, screw these people, they don't get me, I'm out of here. And that could be detrimental to yourself, because obviously these are just certain reactions. And maybe, you with Aquarius, of course, I don't know what your moon sign is, so you might be more emotional than I'm giving you credit for. But a lot of Aquarius people are quite detached, and they live in their heads. And this may really shock you how emotional you can get sometimes. And it just may, because Mars can be very immediate, you may not even be thinking ahead of time and you just react. That's what reactivity, and Cancer is all about reactivity sometimes. So just keep that in mind. Another possibility is that you find out who your enemies are in the workplace. You find out who is really has your back and who is, trying to do you in, so to speak. And that could be actually a very good thing. Secrets can come out at the full moon. But there's a possibility that you get a raise. I remember one time I said something that was probably similar to this, where it was like, yeah, you could leave your job, or um, you could get a promotion or something like that. And somebody repeated that back to me, like, how can you say something that is like diametrically opposed? Well, that's because the full moon can bring something to fruition, which implies that you're fruiting, like a tree that is fruiting, or a plant that is blossoming. It is coming into its fullness. But sometimes it can be that it's coming to a head. So maybe there have been things brewing under the surface, and the drama starts to build. Secrets come out, and then everything, all hell breaks loose. So, yeah, it can go either way depending on how it has already been. On the 19th, the sun goes into Aquarius, and this is what I was speaking on earlier about the Pluto conjunction. That will actually be a couple of days later, when the sun gets to 1 degree 40 minutes of Aquarius, like Pluto is at that moment. That's just an exact conjunction, but even 0 degrees is very, very close. So you have the power of your solar return, or if you're listening for your ascendant, the time when the sun is crossing over into that first house, or it actually forming a conjunction with your ascendant, although it won't be doing so for some people. It would have to be at a certain degree. We're talking about 0 degrees here, so. But anyway, that idea of it being in your sign, that is very powerful. And you could feel at this time a sense of empowerment, a sense that you are going to make 2025 an amazing year for yourself. On the 27th, Mercury goes into Aquarius. So Mercury is really speeding up now. I mean, it just spent less than 3 weeks in Capricorn in your 12th, and now it's in your first house. And this will make you feel better because you'll have more of an ability with Mercury in your first house to convey who you are to other people. The ascendant or the first house is your calling card, and it really showcases what you stand for, and how you move in the world. On the 29th, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius. In my time zone, Central Time Zone, it's at 6:36 a.m. You can do the math for your neck of the woods. And yeah, so here again, we're having more transits in Aquarius. We can have new moons in February. They don't have to be all in January, but this is just all lining up for you. And for those of you in the first 10 degrees of sun or ascendant, this is really a lot closer to you and a lot more impactful, but it will be for everyone. So new beginnings in your life, in one area or another. Decide, what you would like to bring into your reality in the next year. On the 30th, Uranus turns direct. That's your ruler. So that's very important too. Isn't that interesting? The very next day after the new moon in Aquarius, your ruler turns direct at 23 degrees of Taurus. That is the lion's number, 23. And in Taurus, we're talking about the 4th house of home and family. This has been an area that has seen since probably like 2018, maybe some unpredictable events take place. The 4th house can be your mother, some say the father, so it can extend to that as well. But in general, if you have been someone who has moved a lot in the past 6 or so years, that could be something where now that Uranus is direct, you're really kind of asking yourself why. Maybe you've been too prone to getting tired and wanting that almost like a novelty situation. And it's not to say that this is typical behavior for Aquarius because you're a fixed sign and you tend to, even though that's the weird thing about it, everybody says that your ruler Aquarius is so unpredictable, but you're a fixed sign, so you do tend to have a certain type of, constant behavior that you exhibit, consistent behavior that you exhibit. And yet, as it pertains to where you live, this may not have been the case. You may be kind of back and forth. And now, whatever changes that you make, they can be made in a much less herky-jerky way. Because when a planet is retrograding, it's really bringing things up for review more than anything else. So that's how this month ends, and that just goes to show, so much emphasis on Aquarius in one way or the other. So I hope that you enjoyed this, Aquarius. If you'd like a private reading, you can click on the link below to find out what I offer. I have a package deal that is a discounted price because you're buying 2 readings at the same time. Called my deep dive reading, an hour of natal chart analysis, an hour of transits for a special price. I have a similar type of reading with the tarot instead of the chart analysis, or you can, mix and match. And that's called the combo platter, and I have one with all 3, the tarot and the 2 chart readings, called the whole enchilada. All sale prices. And I have love readings, career readings. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.